No.
Okay.
Ready?
Yep.
All set. Jerry not coming? Okay.
He's here.
All right, well, let's get started. We'll call the meeting to order. Welcome, everyone.
Pledge of Allegiance, Jesse?
Yep.
Okay.
We'll do with the Pledge of Allegiance. I'll ask Mr. DeVito.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'll give you a light to where they are. Sure.
Dave, coffee. Thank you. Forgot it over there. Yeah, that's my stuff too.
Get a little closer, stick it in my eye. Let me do that. All right. So we'll proceed with the Board of Managers meeting. And I trust everybody's had an opportunity to review the minutes and the materials forwarded for both meetings today, the Prison Board as well as the Board of Managers. And so I'll entertain a motion for approval of the minutes.
So moved.
On the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. All right, as far as any agenda items, anybody from the public wish to address the board on the Board of Managers agenda? Okay, no one stepping forward, okay. So we'll proceed with the motions. First, of course, is reorganization. We'll have a motion for the appointment of a chairman and vice chair of the Board of Managers.
I'll make a motion to appoint Judge Gibbons as chairman and Sheriff Mark McAndrew as vice chairman.
We have a motion and a second. On the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I'm not going to oppose it. I'll abstain. And Sheriff McAndrew has a physical abstention as well. All right, so the next item on the agenda, item 2005, is a motion to set regularly scheduled meetings for the Board of Managers to be held monthly on Wednesdays at noon in the Commissioners' Conference Room and to be held quarterly at the county prison unless otherwise specified. So I have a motion to approve that. Mr. Notarianni, we have a second. On the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, and then another motion to follow Robert's Rules of Order for the conduct of these meetings.
So moved.
We have a second.
Second.
On the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. All right, so we'll take Mary Stein and the report from the Juvenile Detention Center.
Good afternoon. Currently, we have 9 juveniles at the facility. We're full. January's admissions, we were at 12. Days of service, 123. No females at this time. January's overtime was at $1,843.55 with 62 hours, and the breakdown is on the back page. Staffing has stayed the same, 3 detention officers who are on intermittent FMLA, officer on military leave. The juvenile detention, I'm down to 10 officers, 2 of which are on FMLA. And Brian Haslak from DHS reached out to me today. March 29th will be the date of the inspection. On a positive note, though, NAMI did contact me today. They're going to be reimbursing the county $2,261 for overtime for training. And that concludes my report.
Any questions?
Welcome.
Thank you, Mary. Okay. At this time, We'll entertain any members of the public who wish to address the board. Okay, no one stepping forward. Any other business from any of the members?
I would just like to say that this is just such a high cost, and there's some issues that I believe should have already been addressed. And the overtime, the FMLA, all that, for this is, I just think it's missed. I don't understand why it's not.
Okay, is that a statement, or do you want to have a question? Okay. All right. All right, so I'll entertain a motion to approve Ms. Stein's report.
So moved.
We have a second? On the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Any other business from any of the members? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, we have a motion to adjourn.
Second.
On the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the ayes have it. So the meeting of the Board of Managers is adjourned. We'll move on to the meeting of the Prison Board. We'll call that to order. Likewise, I trust everybody's had an opportunity to review the minutes from last month's meeting. I was not here. I was in trial, but I have reviewed them.
I'll make a motion to accept them.
Wait. On the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? The ayes have it, the minutes are approved. Now we have some items on the agenda, and anybody from the public on the agenda items. Joan?
Joan Hodawana, 220 Linden Street, Scranton. I downloaded Warden Betty's report, and I was pleased to see 3 items about the GED program, Tell Me a Story, and the Forever Sammy program, which are very positive initiatives at the prison following all that negative publicity in the last couple weeks. But of course, he ends his report noting that 6 employees are on administrative leave following their arrest under warrants from the Office of the Attorney General. And I'm not interested in the investigation or the legal issues there, but what I am interested in is I assume that that's paid administrative leave with full benefits. Is that a correct assumption? Okay. And are their duties being covered by other personnel on overtime? Or, so it's going to be filled in by overtime. And I know this is very early because they were, they only were put on administrative leave last week, and the pay period, in fact, it would be February 7th through February 20th, and there's no projection for that yet. But I think it would be useful for the general public for an idea month by month about how much these absences are going to cost the general public, because you got people on administrative leave, which was not projected, and you're going to have to be paying overtime. We already discussed in the commissioners' meeting that legal fees are already accumulated of $150,000 and counting. So when I come back next month, I'm going to want to know what's the cost in terms of their salaries and benefits for those 6 employees on administrative leave who are not working, and what's the additional cost to replace them with overtime. And I think it's going to be an interesting figure. Thank you.
Okay.
Joan, they're on paid administrative leave until they have a due process hearing.
Correct.
That's being set up currently, I think. Is there a time frame on that, Justin?
Yeah, I don't want to reveal the date, but it's going to be soon. And
Be relatively soon.
Due process, and administrative leave offers them due process while also protecting the county. But yes, we're addressing that.
Yeah. But potentially, we could be paying some unprojected personnel costs.
But if we don't do it the right way.
Oh, I have no problem doing it the right way. I'm still curious as a taxpayer, because we've got legal fees and now we got this issue. So I'm just wondering what the ultimate price tag is going to be. Thank you.
I don't know what we'll know if the ultimate price tag, Joan, until it's ultimately concluded. But I think as we go, we'll do our best to break out those numbers.
Just, so that you're aware, John, we've been paying that. Correct? We've been paying their salaries up until this point and continue to do so, correct? Yeah. It didn't just start, in other words, so I don't want the public to think we just started paying it because they were arrested. We've been.
Okay, anybody else on the agenda items? Okay, we'll do our motions. We're going to have the reorganization motion, be a motion to appoint a chair and vice chair of the prison board.
I'll make a motion to reappoint Judge Gibbons as chairman and Sheriff Mark McAndrew as vice chairman.
On the question, I will abstain, but all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, and Sheriff McAndrew is not present. The ayes have it. Thank you. I think. And then the next motion is to set the regularly scheduled meeting days to be held on Wednesdays at noon here in the Commissioners' Conference Room.
Can I make a recommendation there? Because I'm always the one that has to contact everybody to say the meetings aren't going to start at noon. Perhaps you want to start them at 12:30, especially days when we're going to the prison. It's extremely difficult to get out of the Commissioners' meeting, to get out to North Washington Avenue on time. And I'm scurrying around letting everyone know we're going to be late,
But you're right,
if possible.
so we're not screwing anybody's schedule up.
Right.
Well, I don't have a problem with the suggestion if we're going to live by it.
We haven't started one at 12 o'clock yet. We haven't started one yet.
Well, that's my fear. If we move it back to 12:30, we're going to be starting them at 1. I have no problem.
I told my wife to be ready at 6:30 because I know we're going to leave at 7.
Let's try. We'll go at 12:30 and same thing for when we're out quarterly at the jail.
We've just come under a lot of criticism from people in the building.
Including members of the board. All right, so the motion is to set the scheduled meetings for 12:30 to be held here monthly except quarterly out at the jail.
So moved.
Second? On the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Judge, could that also include the board managers' meetings too?
Yes, yeah, we'll make an appropriate notation on that. Everybody okay with that? All right. All right, and then, since we just didn't follow Robert's Rules of Orders on the Board of Managers, I suppose we should have a motion to follow Robert's Rules of Orders and for conducting all our meetings. So I have a motion for that. All right, and a second?
Second.
On the question. All in favor? Aye. Okay. All right.
For next month, so board of managers will correct that. Put it on the agenda to fix the time.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so everybody gets an extra half hour for lunch.
I don't think so.
All right, so we'll take the controller's report.
Thank you, Judge. The Controller's Office has reviewed the prison inmate and canteen account reconciliations, which were prepared by the prison's business office for the month of January of 2018, and found no discrepancies between the reconciliations and the bank statements. The balance in the inmate account was $343,666.40 as of January 31st of 2018. The balance in the canteen checking account was $475,069.12 as of January 31st of 2018. And in addition, as of January 31st of 2018, the canteen account owned 2 certificates of deposit, one valued at $15,000 and the other at $131,877.33, which totals $146,877.33. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions for Mr. DeBillio? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve his report. And a second? On the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. The controller's report is approved. Community corrections?
Judge, I don't think we did, I think I just ran over it. Payables for 18-10.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Just for-
Yeah, I'm sorry. Just trying to keep a little extra money in the till. I'll entertain a motion to approve all current payables for the Community Corrections Center, the Juvenile Detention Center, and the prison.
So moved.
Do I have a second? All right. On the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. The current payables will be paid. Now,
Your Honor. Good afternoon, Board. The Community Corrections Program report for January 2018, Item 1. Our program totals: male work release had 52 participants, female work release had 8 participants. Adult house arrest had 139 participants, and juvenile house arrest had 20 participants. Item 2, our program's revenues for the month of January totaled $64,990.74. Item 3, our program's expenses total $105,563.45. Item 4, our program's completions for the month. Work release had 14, house arrest had 39. Item 5, our program's violations. Work release had 6, house arrest had 7. Item 6, our program's warrants. Work release has 5, house arrest has 2. Item 7, our budget report so far. Just for after 1 month, our overtime is at 14%, expenses are at 8%, and revenue is also at 8%. And finally, our personnel, item 8, we have 1 part-time opening. That concludes our report.
thank you, Brian. Any questions for Director Jeffers? Okay, if not, I'll entertain a motion to approve that report.
So moved.
Do I have a second? On the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the Community Corrections report is accepted. Thank you, Brian. Warden Betty, we'll hear the warden's report.
Good afternoon, Board.
Afternoon.
The average daily in-house population for the month of January was 824 inmates. Attached to this report is the overtime report, the out-of-county boarding, and the community service report. As far as staffing update, currently our corrections officers' numbers break down to 160 on staff, on shift, 1 on workers' comp, 8 on other, and 11 vacancies for a total of 180 correctional officers. FMLA, 29 officers are on intermittent FMLA, which amounts to about 17% of the COs. Budget, 2017 budget numbers were our revenue was at 104% and our expenses at 95%. And as far as 2018, January being the only month, we're at 2% in revenue and 8% at expenses. The reason the revenue is that low is we didn't get our payment yet from the U.S. Marshals, and that's a substantial amount of our revenue. Juvenile inmates, we're currently housing 3 male juveniles and 0 female juveniles. Inmates at or past their minimum, we're at 21. That, by the way, is the lowest I've reported since we started reporting on this, so that's good news. We had 6 with no home plan. 4 of the 6 are in our community service program. Sorry about that typo. 3 individuals with parole denied due to an unacceptable home plan. 5 with the home plan submitted and we're awaiting parole. 6 who've been remanded for the balance of their sentence, and 1 other, the individual's in New Jersey. In a facility in New Jersey. He'll be coming back when he's done there. Extraordinary occurrence reports. There were 3 extraordinary occurrences since the last prison board meeting. On January 29th, the county inmate was placed into the restraint chair after attempting to assault an officer. Pepper spray had to be administered. On 2/5, a county inmate was placed into the restraint chair for staff safety after assaulting an officer. And on 2/8, a county inmate was placed into the restraint chair after being combative upon her commitment to the facility. PREA, there were a total of 4 allegations of PREA violations in the month of January. We had 1 staff sexual misconduct that was deemed unfounded, 1 staff sexual misconduct that was deemed unsubstantiated, 1 staff sexual misconduct remains under investigation, and 1 staff sexual harassment allegation was deemed unfounded. And as always, when the PREA investigation is concluded, we have a copy that's sent to the district attorney's office as well, whether it's founded, unfounded, or unsubstantiated. Commissary RFP, the review committee has evaluated all the submissions and is recommending the company known as Oasis to their present provider. It's hoped that the board will vote on a recommendation to the Board of Commissioners. Food service RFP, and the food service RFP review committee has also evaluated all the submissions and is recommending Aramark. It's hoped that the board will vote on a recommendation to the Board of Commissioners on that as well. Presently, our provider is CBM, so this would be a change in providers. Now the good news part that Joan stole all my thunders. GED, I've had some conversations with EOTC about providing GED services, classes, and I'm looking to see if I can get authorization from the board to use funds from the inmate canteen account. That is the profits that are generated through the inmates purchasing commissary and other sources of income. It's no taxpayer dollars at all. It'll cost somewhere in the neighborhood of $120,000 a year to provide these services, and that's to buy all the equipment and supplies needed and provide 2 instructors as well. They're licensed educators that work for EOTC that would be coming in. And if we can do this, that would be great, because we'd be looking at getting about 80 individuals the opportunity to take their GED test. Hopefully, we also would have to get ourselves certified as a test center like we had in the past. We've done that before. So that's something I would be hoping that the board would consider, and that is to authorize me to use the the canteen funds to pay for the GED. The next item is Tell Me a Story. We're moving forward with the development of a new program entitled Tell Me a Story. It's a cooperative effort that will involve EOTC, the NEPA prison advocates, the Scranton Area Ministerium, the Scranton Library, and the prison staff. The program will feature incarcerated mothers reading children's books while they're being recorded on DVD, so that the recording and the book can be sent to their children and played for them as the child reads along with the book as their mother's reading them the story. It allows moms to be able to be with their children in a way that they haven't been able to be due to incarceration, and it's hoped that this program will foster a continuation of being connected to one's family through the difficulties of an incarceration period. The next program, it's just getting started, the Forever Sammy program. I've entered into some discussions with the folks from the Forever Sammy program, and they would like to come out to the prison and establish a new program that will be aimed at combating the opiate addiction epidemic in the area. It'll be developed and aimed at younger at-risk offenders, and it'll feature former prisoners who are living life on the straight and narrow now. They'll discuss their life choices and how they came to overcome their addictions. It'll also consist of a series of meetings somewhat along the lines of an AA or an NA meeting, but it'll be sprinkled with some heart-to-heart conversations between the participants and the providers of the program. Just in the initial planning stages, but I just wanted to throw that out there right now so folks knew what we were working on. Finally, the Office of the Attorney General served arrest warrants on 7 individuals last week. 6 of those were current employees at the prison. Those who have been arrested have been placed on administrative leave until further notice. And due to the fact that this investigation is an ongoing and open one, I will not comment any further on any aspect of that. This concludes my report.
Tim, the GED program,
Yes, sir.
you're talking about an annual cost of about $120,000. What does that encompass?
It would encompass programming classes 4 days a week. If I remember correctly, it was 2 hours a day, 4 days a week for a group. We would run them in groups of 20 for 6 weeks. And at the end of that, it's hoped that the individuals would be then prepared to take the GED exam. It would constitute the two full-time teachers. I mean, there's more they have to do outside of the couple hours a day they're doing, so there's planning, helping us to find people who would qualify for being into that program. But I'd say, yeah, probably 8 hours, maybe top 10 hours a week of actual classroom work for 6 weeks in order to prepare the individual to take the GED exam.
How about the actual administration of the test? My recollection.
That's something.
That's digital?
It's digital, but we're also aware of there's another, and I wish I remember the name of it right now. I mean, it counts as a GED, but there's another name. There's another company that does it, and they still have a paper one. And I'd like to get started with that first because it's a lot easier to get it up and running. It would just be a matter of getting ourselves designated, certified as a test center, which again we've done that. We did that about 10, 15 years ago, and we had that up until 2012.
And tell me a story, any costs associated with that?
No cost. All those cooperating agencies are coming up with whatever funds. I believe the Scranton Library is donating some books, which is it's great. It's a win-win-win for everybody on that one.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions for the warden?
I do, Judge. Warden, I just want to commend you on a few things here, the programs that you're outlining, the GED, the Tell Me a Story, the Forever Sammy program. I think they are outstanding, and I'm glad we're doing them at the prison, going to do them at the prison. With the GED program, expenses at about $120,000 a year, I believe that if we use canteen funds for that program, it'll be able to sustain itself for a few years, but probably not indefinitely, because I think we're bringing in about $50,000 per year in profits with the canteen account, and I think we have a balance of about $500,000 in there. So, you know, we'll figure out the math and be able to come back to the prison board with how long that may be able to sustain itself. I want to go over to the PREA violations with a quick question. You mentioned some. PREA obviously stands for Prison Rape Elimination Act, which was put into effect in the state of Pennsylvania in 2003. And I think several years ago, it became instituted here in our Lackawanna County Prison. And we do have a coordinator that works in our Lackawanna County Prison. So just a couple of things. When you mention the violations, Warden, even though a misconduct may be founded as unfounded, it's still being looked into by other people other than yourself, for example.
Yes. Yeah, you mentioned our PREA coordinator. Her name's Mari Finland. She looks at all of them, anything. All staff, all volunteer staff, all contracted staff are trained to report all PREA allegations to Mari Finland or to the shift commander, who then gets it to Mari Finland, our PREA coordinator.
Okay, good. Can you tell us a little bit about the Prison Rape Elimination Act and when it came into our prison, approximately when it came into it, and how we're doing with that program, and does the state come in and inspect and review our program?
I can certainly give you an update. It's a federal act. As you mentioned, it was, I believe, signed into law in 2003. Lackawanna County didn't get it fully implemented until June of 2015. We were audited by a licensed certified PREA auditor in July of 15. And then we had a review just last February of 2017. We had another audit, which we successfully completed. Our next audit will be in 3 years. It's all by the guidelines of PREA, so the next time we'll be audited will be in 2020. With that, I had written some notes down, hoping someone would ask me about PREA. I just want to let everybody know it involves training for every new staff member who comes into the prison gets, as part of their orientation, gets a PREA training. On top of that, all volunteers who come in and all contracted staff, and what I mean by that is our medical department, our food service department, they get trained in it as well. Everybody is trained in it to understand the seriousness of a sexual allegation and what to do with that allegation if they receive it. And as I just mentioned before, you get to the shift commander, you get to me, to the deputy warden, but it all goes to Mari Finland. That's her job, is to investigate those matters. And again, speaking about her job, when she's done with that investigation, that information goes to the district attorney's office. Whether it's founded, unfounded, or unsubstantiated, we don't make any judgment whatsoever on that. We send it there for evaluation as to whether or not it's something that should be acted on or shouldn't be acted on. Let me see what else we got so I don't forget anything. In our PREA training, everybody, it's reinforced with the individuals that we do have a zero tolerance for violations of our PREA policy. Zero tolerance for anything. So, and I've been adhering to that very strictly. There's a hotline. It's run out of the State Correctional Institution in Camp Hill. I know that the Attorney General just set up a hotline for his current thing, but there is and there was a hotline to call. Individuals can call that. Third party people can call that in case they had some concerns about expressing something to a prison staff member or even to a volunteer staff member at the prison. There's that hotline. They're all given that. When an inmate comes into jail during the booking process, he or she gets a copy of this. This is our PREA pamphlet. It's in English and Spanish. We also have it available in Braille. So everybody gets a copy of this, and it tells you what to do, how to not put yourself in a position of victimization, what to do if you do become a victim, if you are violated. Runs the gamut. We give them this, and we give them a self-reporting questionnaire, a PREA screening form. That form, they fill it out. They could let us know if they've ever been victimized in the past, for instance. And it's something that we check on every single individual to make sure they fill out their PREA screening form. Helps us to assess them to determine if they may be an at-risk person. Because it's not just about staff. It's about other inmates. I mean, it's the Prison Rape Elimination Act. And we want to ensure that individuals are as safe as we can make it. So if we have an individual who has a proclivity to being a victim, and there are certain indicators, we address that appropriately, and we assign that person housing appropriate to his or her PREA screening form. It's not the only thing that we do. We have a full-blown classification system, but that's a major player in it. I think that might have... that might have been everything we're doing, but if I can be a little proactive, I want to let the board know that what I'm doing right now, proactively speaking, is I'm reaching out to a couple different companies, looking to talk to them about having them come in and do a screening and assessment of our policies and procedures. It's in addition to being inspected by a PREA investigator and whatnot. There are a couple national companies that's what they do. They're experts in reviewing policy and providing recommendations. My ears are open, and I want to make the place a better and safer place than it is.
Warden, can you talk about the camera system that's in the prison right now, and when the camera system was expanded to where it is right now?
I don't have particulars on it because I wasn't. I had a time period when I wasn't employed at the prison, and a lot of cameras went in during that time period. There are a lot of cameras in the facility now. I mean, I can't get too specific because of security reasons, but there are about 20 to 30 individual cells that are camera cells, besides cameras almost every single inch of the exterior and interior corridors and the day rooms of the prison. There was a major installation that had occurred sometime between the year 2012 and 2016. That's the time period I wasn't there. I was working elsewhere, but I saw the difference in cameras when I came back to work at the prison. So there's a lot of cameras in the facility at this point in time.
There's been some charges brought, obviously, recently. And to read some of the stories on it, it almost makes one think that these are all recent activities. Can you talk about that? I mean, okay.
Yeah, I don't think, as the warden said, it's an open investigation, and, you know, it's being conducted by the Attorney General's office. I think my position as a judge prohibits me from commenting on any pending cases at all,
Yeah.
whether they're civil or criminal, whether I'm involved with them or whether I'm not. So for my own self, there won't be any, but my counsel to the board is that since we're really at the nascent stages of this, I think we're better off not speculating and not offering any kind of comments. We'll let the process
Yeah.
work its way out. That's why the process is what it is. It's you know, we'll have our administrative process, the criminal process will go along as it goes, and we'll deal with the end product of that.
Right.
When it's over.
I agree with that, Judge. I thought it might be important for the public to know that because of the Prison Rape Elimination Act being instituted in our prison when it was, and how things are followed, and the cameras that have, you know, been installed to the level that they are, you know, those types of things, you know, should not be allowed to be occurring.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you.
Any other questions for the warden? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve his report. Have a second?
Second.
On the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. The warden's report will be approved. There's just a couple of other things on the agenda. I have to be in Philadelphia in 1 hour and 55 minutes downtown at a judicial conference, so I'm gonna go and
It's just enough time to drive to Schuylkill, Judge, not down to
try and avoid being stopped by any flashing lights on the way. We should take a vote on who's going to conduct the remainder of the meeting. In my absence, since Sheriff McAndrew, who's the vice chairman, isn't here, since we also just pledged to follow Robert's Rules of Order, I think Commissioner O'Malley has volunteered.
I'll make a motion.
Oh.
Controller DeVillio to.
All right. We have a second?
Second.
On the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. There's the rest.
Thank you, Judge. I think we're at the point now where we have the opportunity for the public to address the board.
Yes. Okay, I'll take it. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Hello, everyone. I'm Dave Davidson. I'm from Lake Sheridan, part of Lackawanna County. I've been coming to a couple of these meetings, and I've had a very strong interest in what goes on at the Lackawanna County Prison, both as a conscientious citizen and as a former inmate. I'm not just a former inmate of Lackawanna County Prison, but a former inmate of the state correctional institutions. And there's a couple different ways things are done upstate, as in our local community. And the most recent happenings that have come to the public's interest have been of my concern for a decade. Most recently, I've tried to reach out to some commissioners and some other members of this board to bring to their attention things that probably aren't fit for the public and have been denied access. And I've been told to contact the attorneys. And I think that creates a situation for a public person to come and talk to an attorney. When they're not elected, they're appointed, and it limits our access. And what my prison board members actually want to hear on what they're going to do. I have in the past had access to commissioners. Plausible deniability at this point doesn't work anymore. You're outed. No disrespect. I mean, we got a lot of problems over there. I'd like to bring to the attention a couple things that you may not know. As an inmate, I will tell you there are still blind spots in that prison. That's a fact. Secondly, I am also, the irony is, have been a victim of a crime recently. And it came to my attention that Lackawanna County Prison does not participate in what I believe to be Act 86. And the other act, Act 76, I may be mistaken. And those are obscure provisions that the state prison system allows for deductions from the inmates' welfare fund, their individual account, which you so politely spoke about what inmates are holding. They are mandated to turn over a portion ranging from 10, 15, 20%, or up to 100% garnish their inmate account to make a victim whole. Personally, Stacy Lynn Kennedy made an allegation against me in which she was convicted for, and she owes me $4,000. She served 6 months of contempt of court in Lackawanna County Prison, and I noticed I was expecting a check, and unbeknownst to me, your prison doesn't participate. I know Miss Mari Kelly's trying to get your prison to cooperate and participate in that, and it's going to take some man hours. But anytime you have somebody held in detention who owes somebody money, it's probably a good thing to allow them to have their wages garnished that are made in donations and make that person whole again. I know upstate, my wages were garnished to pay my court costs and restitution back to the county of $770-some. And that's only part of becoming a responsible citizen, and we probably agree it's a good program. It also allows your court collections to collect their money, which we're all in for. That court collection should be made whole. County government is expensive to run, and so is the court system. On a side note, I didn't come here expecting to hear about the renewed contract. I was instrumental in getting rid of Aramark in the first go-around when you appointed the new food services. I was very disappointed as an inmate that what they offered, and I read their contract. But they took even off coffee, off the morning coffee. I think Aramark's a better outfit. I regret being involved and proactive against Aramark. So when you're considering it from an inmate's point of view, I think Aramark is a fair value for you guys. I've looked at both. All right? As an inmate who was served the food was quality, better quality. And I can say I even helped the guards in some respect. For those that have been known, I even had an article published as a guest columnist for the Scranton Times speaking about the good guards that are there. And I really feel bad for the good ones that are being painted with this brush and this stink, if I may, against them. My path to recovery, you guys got me at my worst as an inmate. And there were some really good guards there who helped me along the way. And I probably wouldn't be sober today without them. And I'd like to say that, you know, if this gets aired, you know, there are good guards there. And I feel really, really bad for the ones that are being out in public and then somebody makes something derogatory at them. I'll be the first one to say, let the bad ones go and keep the good. And there's more good there than bad. I've spoken to Commissioner O'Malley recently, and I told him how bad I feel for some of them because he's a former correctional officer. And he said, David, you know, I was fair with you. And I'll be the first one to say, you know, when I deserved to be treated the way I was, it was. But I'd really like to see some new way of John Q. Public to communicate and let know what they come across or what they become to be a concern other than airing it in public, because some of the things that I'm knowledgeable of shouldn't be told publicly. And I really don't think I should tell it to an attorney who's not elected. And just to conclude, I'd really like to ask, why are we fighting $100 and some thousand on a warrant that was served when really we don't have a fight, we just want the truth to come out. I really don't care, as John Q. Public, the legality of it. and I'm not an attorney, but I practiced law for myself and studied the law. But I call that inevitable discovery myself. And I think John Q. Public would really like to know, why are we fighting $100 and some thousand legal bill, haggling over what judge they went to? I'd like to see you guys just open up your records. I'd like to see you turn those things over.
Sorry to interrupt, but at the commissioner meeting, maybe you weren't here earlier, but the county attorneys addressed those legal fees, and we were informed that it's not a fight of those fees are not to fight the investigation, but they're a matter of confidentiality, to review all emails that the Attorney General needs to review prior to them having all those emails. Commissioners, I believe that's what the attorney said today at the commissioner meeting. So it sounds like you're paying money to fight the investigation, but that's not exactly what's going on at all.
Thank you for the clarity, and I apologize I wasn't present for that.
Yeah, and that was fully discussed because there's been multiple questions and media reports out there that everybody's being fed a lot of misinformation. So, there was a very in-depth conversation at the county commissioners meeting talking about that, and this is just part of the process of handing the information over to the AG that he requested, and the legal can talk more about how that process works, but in my unlegal nursing terms, I'll just put it the way I would put it, and that is that some information is private due to they requested children and youth records and records that weren't really a part of the investigation that we ourselves had requested of the AG due to the DA having a conflict of interest. So there was no actual fight or lawsuit or anything like that. It was just part of the process of providing the information to the AG's office after we had to pay all the attorneys. They had, how many millions did they say of paperwork? And we're down to 27,000 emails now. So it was just a matter of providing that paperwork to them. But we can't give privileged information from children and youth, and some things had to be redacted and things. Am I saying that correctly?
Yeah.
I don't want to misrepresent what was being stated, but it is something that needed to be talked about because it was blown way out of proportion, and which usually happens. So I was happy to get the answers the public really needed to hear.
Attorney Soffinelli.
There were a variety of issues. I'm scheduled to get a little more update on what they're doing, but there's materials, I think, that were provided beyond what was seized. There's materials that were seized that we need to operate. So it's a matter of cooperating and, making sure that we can perform our functions as a county and give them what they need and not subject ourselves to other liabilities. So it's a little complicated. I don't want to get beyond that, but it's not fighting the AG's office. That's just a poor way to view it.
Thank you for the clarification. Forgive me. I thought it was an adversarial process rather than you guys being an advocate and working together. I apologize. And it was. I would just like to say in conclusion, if I may, I would welcome an opportunity. I know I reached out to Ms. Cummings' office. I know I spoke to Commissioner O'Malley, and because I had a long relationship with the judge, on this side of the bench as a defendant. In the past, I had spoken to them. I would really like to let some of you know what I know and how I know it. I'm not your typical John Q. Public that's not in the know. My phone rings obscurely from people that want to tell me things, and then I run them down, and I find out there's truths and there's untruths, because I do have an interest. And some of my interests fall within the scope of this public meeting, and some of them fall that should be more private. And if you guys want to have attorneys present when we have that talk, I'll gladly have that talk. But I think there are some things that need to be aired, and you need to know, and I would address them. That's all I have to say. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Dave.
Good afternoon, My name is Beth Ann Zero. I'm a resident and business owner in Dunmore. I'm also co-founder of NEPA Prison Advocates. My other co-founder, Matt Clemente, had written a letter that he was going to present today to all of you. I also have copies here for you. But unfortunately, he contacted me this morning that he has fallen to the flu. So he has left it to me to please read this letter to you. So if you'll indulge me. Dear Lackawanna County Prison Board, I am writing to, number one, introduce myself. 2, explain why I helped found the Northeast Pennsylvania Prison Advocates. And 3, request that the board address the questions listed below as they pertain to Lackawanna County Prison's compliance with the Prison Rape Elimination Act, henceforth known as PREA, and the Pennsylvania Attorney General's investigation of what he calls, quote, a persistent culture of sexual abuse and assault at the prison, unquote. I live in Dunmore and work as a criminal defense attorney in Pittston, Pennsylvania. As a defense attorney, I have represented hundreds of incarcerated clients and become intimately acquainted with the criminal justice system and the prison systems in Northeast Pennsylvania. I have witnessed firsthand the gaps in these systems and how these gaps exacerbate the cycle of crime, poverty, and recidivism that devastates the lives of so many of our citizens. In short, many of my clients' struggles outside of the courtroom help contribute to their incarceration and create strains not only on the criminal justice system, but society at large, as taxpayers are responsible for funding our jails and prisons. Part of the purpose of the NEPA Prison Advocates is to advocate for my clients and those similarly situated outside of the courtroom to attempt to address their issues up front and reduce recidivism. Another purpose of our group is to ensure that those incarcerated are treated fairly and with dignity. On behalf of the NEPA Prison Advocates, I look forward to working with the Lackawanna County Prison Board to work towards these goals. In the wake of the Attorney General's announcement of criminal charges against 7 Lackawanna County prison guards, the NAPA Prison Advocates is concerned with the LCP's policies and practices as they pertain to sexual abuse and harassment of female inmates. The NEPA Prison Advocates believe that a clear-eyed assessment of the scope of the problem, as well as a commitment by the prison board, increase transparency and accountability as necessary. With these ends in mind, the NEPA Prison Advocates submit the following questions to the board. The Associated Press has characterized the county's response to the arrests as, quote, downplaying the problem, unquote. Does the prison board believe there is a problem involving sexual assault and harassment in the prison? If the prison board believes there is a problem involving sexual harassment in the prison, what does the board believe is the scope of the problem, and what does the board believe to be the causes of the problem? In his February 15, 2018 press release, the Pennsylvania Attorney General described the problem as, quote, a persistent culture of sexual abuse and assault at the prison that continued for many years, unquote. Does the prison board believe there is a culture of abuse in Lackawanna County Prison? What does the prison board plan to do to reverse the culture of abuse? The Scranton Times-Tribune editorial board suggests that the county's response to the Attorney General's ongoing investigation should be, quote, get out of the way, unquote. The editorial board fears that instead the county will instead seek to thwart the investigation. Will the prison board commit to cooperating with the Attorney General's investigation? Will the prison board voluntarily step up to reveal how far the problem of sexual assault and harassment goes? Angus Love, Executive Director of the Pennsylvania Institutional Law Project, recently stated that obviously there is lack of oversight regarding sexual abuse and harassment in Lackawanna County Prison. What responsibility does the prison board accept for this lack of oversight? Will the prison board commit to increased oversight? How will the prison board ensure that there is increased oversight? Angus Love further stated that other counties have looked to address issues of oversight by looking outside the county for leadership. In Lackawanna County, both the warden and the PREA compliance manager were previously employed by the county before assuming their current positions. Would the prison board consider looking outside of county to hire someone to independently assess the county's PREA compliance? The Lackawanna County Prison Policy and Procedure Manual is not available on the prison's website. However, excerpts of the manual are contained in the PREA audit reports. According to 1113 section of the Lackawanna County Prison Policy and Procedure, the preliminary investigation of an allegation of harassment or abuse will be conducted by the Security Department and PREA coordinator. The Lackawanna County District Attorney's Office shall be contacted to conduct a criminal investigation if necessary. Would the prison board consider posting the Lackawanna County Prison Policy and Procedure Manual online? Would the prison board consider involving a neutral outside entity in the preliminary investigation of allegations of abuse? Who makes the determination whether the district attorney's office should be contacted? Would the prison board consider changing its policy such that the district attorney's office reviews every allegation of sexual abuse and harassment in Lackawanna County Prison, as well as the results of the investigations into the allegations? According to the 2017 PREA audit report, the prison has entered into an MOU, presumably a memorandum of understanding, with the Women's Resource Center for Victim Advocacy. If requested by the victim advocate will accompany and support the victim through the forensic medical examination process and investigatory interviews, providing emotional support, crisis intervention, information, and referrals. Rather than making it incumbent upon the victim to request involvement by the Women's Resource Center, would the prison board consider changing its policy such that the Women's Resource Center is involved in every allegation of abuse? Would the board consider amending 1113 section of the Lackawanna County Prison Policy and Procedure Manual such that the preliminary investigations of allegations involve a neutral outside entity such as the Pennsylvania Prison Society, the Attorney General's Office, or the Lackawanna County District Attorney's Office? Will the prison board make public the MOU with the Women's Resource Center? Would the prison board consider increasing the Women's Resource Center's access to Lackawanna County Prison? According to the prison's website, reports of sexual abuse or harassment should be made to the PREA coordinator, quote, during regular working hours, unquote, and to the shift commander, quote, during any other time, unquote. The website further indicates that reports can be made anonymously, but Lackawanna County Prison, quote, requests that all people making a report leave their name for further communication, unquote. Would the board consider publishing the contact information for entities outside of the prison who accept reports of sexual abuse or harassment, such as the Pennsylvania Department of Corrections or the Women's Resource Center? The 2015 and 2017 PREA audit reports are available on the LCP website. The reports were produced by Patrick Zerpoli. Why is the 2016 PREA audit not available online? When did the prison begin conducting PREA audits? How was Mr. Zerpoli selected to conduct the PREA audits? How much is Mr. Zerpoli paid to conduct the PREA audits? How are the PREA audits funded? A review of 10 randomly selected PREA audits conducted by Mr. Zerpoli in Lackawanna County and other facilities in Pittsburgh, in New Hampshire, Perry County, Monroe County, Pike County, Columbia County, Somerset County Jail, Lehigh County Community Corrections Center indicate that Mr. Zerpoli has not found any areas where a facility was not meeting PREA standards. Is the prison board aware of any instances where Mr. Zapoli has found an institution has not met a PREA standard? Will the prison board commit to exploring Mr. Zapoli's record as a PREA auditor? In light of the recent national press coverage of the Attorney General's investigation, many citizens of Lackawanna County and prison rights groups, including the NEPA Prison Advocates, are interested in partnering with the Lackawanna County Prison Board to address the issue of sexual abuse and harassment in Lackawanna County Prison. Would the prison board consider establishing a working group which would include Lackawanna County citizens and prison rights groups to study the systematic issue of sexual abuse and harassment in Lackawanna County Prison? Would the prison board consider establishing a citizens review board for inmate issues, including individual allegations of sexual abuse and harassment in Lackawanna County Prison? How would the prison board encourage Lackawanna County citizens and prison rights groups, including the NEPA Prison Advocates, to help the board address the issue of sexual abuse and harassment in Lackawanna County Prison, as well as other inmate and prison issues? Thank you in advance for your time and consideration. I look forward to addressing the questions listed above with the Lackawanna County Prison Board. Although these questions are pointed questions, in some instances, they are not meant to be adversarial. The NEPA Prison Advocates want to partner with the Lackawanna County Prison Board and help the board address the issues facing the Lackawanna County Prison. Sincerely, Matt Clementi, Esquire. Now, I know Warden Betty has addressed some of the questions that we asked, and Matt does watch the videos religiously. He has a difficult time coming here because of the time of the meetings, and he was happy that he was going to be able to make it today, but as I said, the flu, it takes all prisoners. I am really happy to hear about the possibility of the GED program going forward, but one of the questions I personally have, EOTC has a lot of different contracts with the prison providing different services. Is there going to be an opportunity to maybe offer that out for bid? $120,000 might not sound like a lot of money when it comes to going towards education and for paying for teachers and paying for materials, but maybe there is going to be an opportunity out there for somebody who would do that for less. Maybe we could even find some volunteers who would be willing to teach rather than having paid staff. So there might be other opportunities if we're going to go that route. There might be other ways to find that without funding $120,000. And would that necessarily be each year once the materials are purchased? Are these materials that would be able to be reused? Would they need to be updated? So there's a little bit more that I'd be interested in knowing in the scope of all of that.
Thank you, Beth.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Can you leave us a copy of
I do.
that? And we'll do our best to answer those questions. But yes, we are, as a county and as a board, getting out of the way and cooperating. Anyone else? Thanks.
My name is Dr. Stephanie Bressler. I'm from Scranton, and I'm also representing the Progressive Women of Northeastern Pennsylvania. As Commissioner Cummings said, we have been coming to every meeting. This is my 14th consecutive monthly meeting, and we are raising questions. The county website posting of prison board meetings still lists the 2017 dates. Now that the calendar for 2018 is adopted at the end of February of 2018, will the website be updated to reflect the 2018 dates? People look to that website to find out the date of the prison board meeting, and it is confusing.
We'll have somebody get on that.
Thank you.
Yes.
We have been very supportive of the reinstitution of the GED program. We've heard from Warden Betty today that he's suggesting that canteen funds be spent on the program. We agree that that is an appropriate use of those canteen funds. But as Beth said, will this program be under contract with EOTC? How will that be handled? Will other literacy GED providers have an opportunity to bid on the contract? GED has changed considerably over the last couple of years, and especially since the prison last had a GED program. In his report, Warden Betty said that the employees arrested in the Attorney General's action last week were placed on administrative leave. And he explained today that currently that is paid leave. We would also like to know how many employees named in the December 2016 amended lawsuit are currently still on administrative leave, and are they also on paid leave? At his news conference last week, the Attorney General announced that a hotline has been set up for victims and witnesses of alleged sexual abuse in the prison. Do current inmates have access to this hotline? Is privacy accorded to inmate callers to the hotline? And how will these inmates be protected from retribution? Are these calls monitored by the prison? Progressive Women of NEPA concurs with the concerns raised by Attorney Clementi today and await the board's prompt responses to his questions. We join in his suggestion that the board consider establishing a working group to study the alleged systematic issue of sexual abuse and harassment at the prison, and/or a citizens review board for inmate issues. We'd like to go beyond this recommendation. It appears that the sections of Pennsylvania statute Title 61, County Correctional Institutions, that prescribe the membership of the board does not restrict the composition of the board to only those specifically required to be on the board. Would the board also consider representation on the board by citizens or professionals who might provide governance insight related to this issue? Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bressler. Can we have a copy of those questions?
I've written on them. I'd be very
Okay.
happy to email you a copy.
Okay.
Who should it go to?
She sent it to Tracy Hart. She'll send it out to all the prison board members.
Tracy Hart.
T-Hart@LackawannaCounty.org.
Okay.
She'll.
Happy to.
Is that correct, Tracy?
JRT, right? Yeah. She'll let you know after the meeting. Yes.
My turn? Mike Catanzaro, 132 School Street, Giles, PA. Commissioners and board members, thank you for allowing me a few minutes to speak about our county prison. I will first talk about the expense of running the prison, then give you a few of my thoughts on the prison, and try to suggest a possible solution to the problems at the prison. The total expenses from the county budget at the prison is $28.2 million. The total revenue, again from the county budget, is $7 million. This equals a net cost of $21 million. The major expenses from the county budget are wages, overtime, FICA, and health insurance. These total $20.8 million. The other major expenses, again from the county budget, are medical and food, which total $3.5 million. The combined expenses are 86% of the prison budget. The cost per inmate, as I could figure out, is approximately $92 a day. The total prison budget is 1/3 of the collected county taxes, and this cost is going up on a yearly basis. The county prison population has changed over the years from basically having an inmate population that committed petty crimes within the county to an inmate population that consists of people convicted of more serious crimes. This prison population contains sexual predators, gang members, inmates that have committed more violent crimes, drug dealers, con men, firearms violations, just to give you a few examples. For many of these inmates, being in prison has become a profession. The prison has evolved from rehabilitation to taking care of inmates that have serious psychological and medical issues, drug and alcohol rehab, violent tendencies, and even pregnancies. The prison guards themselves earn every penny that they make for a thankless job that is filled with fraud and danger every minute of every day. I know many people that are guards at the county prison, the state prison up in Waymart, and the federal prison up in Homestead. And the stories that they've told me over the years are absolutely scary. I commend these people for their professionalism and fearlessness under these circumstances. Personally, I do not believe the county has the resources or the expertise to deal with the modern prison population. Over the last 25 years, the county prison has given the county one scandal after another, and collectively, these scandals have cost the taxpayers of this county many millions of dollars. After every scandal, the county has the same solution. Either throw more money at the problem, come up with more policies and procedures, even hire different people to run the prison. None of this has worked. The very definition of insanity is to do the same things and expect a different outcome. And what has been done over at this prison for the last 2.5 decades fits this definition exactly. I must give the current administration much credit for thinking outside the box to come up with different solutions to existing problems, and I hope you will continue with this thought process. I myself am going to suggest to the county commissioners and the prison board that it may be time to look at privatizing the county prison. There are several publicly traded and private companies that I believe would be interested in buying the county prison. These companies have much more expertise and resources to run a prison than the county has. Privatizing this prison could potentially save the county government millions of dollars, which could be used for more important and pressing issues within the county. Please be bold, have courage, and again, think outside the box to solve this problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Hi, my name is John Witzcall. I live in Archbold, Pennsylvania. There seems to be an extreme shortage of corrections officers at the prison now, and which is causing scoring overtime. You've advertised for part-time corrections officers on your website since September. How many have you hired?
None, there's zero. That's the problem, there's no part-time employees, that's the problem. Because we can only hire 4 anyway, and they come with stipulations. So it's an issue. It's not an issue with us as commissioners, it's an issue with contract negotiations, which I tried to alleviate and still couldn't win on. So that's where you need to put up with the problem there.
Okay, what are
That's
the
not that
stipulations?
There's no part-time workers, none.
Why
So
do
of course
they?
there's
Why
going to be overtime.
Why do they
Everybody's full-time.
post for the job and then? I had an interview before Christmas with the prison for that position, and they seemed more than willing to hire me. And they bounced it back to the county. When I called County Human Resource.
Right now, what's going on is there was a memorandum of understanding that with the new contract, there would be 14 new part-time opportunities out there. So you may be one of that, I'm not sure. This couldn't.
Well, I can't-
What happened is it changed what happened was, there was a lot of stipulations behind, for you, I'm not sure, were you a former corrections officer?
Yes, I'm retired from
Certified?
Waymart. Yes, I've been through the academy.
Then you-
I worked at Fairview, so I have extensive history with
I'm
mentally
sure they're
offenders.
going to be calling you soon.
Well, that's what I keep trying to find out. And when I called the County Human Resources, I was given the answer, we're not hiring.
Warden, is that your understanding, that there may be some part-time people being come on?
We discussed this. board understand this, we had to wait until we got 14 under a memorandum of understanding, and that was the big part now. And now at this point, we'll be looking for part-time.
Part-time workers aren't going to be part-time actual salaried people. They're going to be on call. And they can only work after stipulations that were currently met by the 4 individuals that we had previously. So there's still stipulations and there's still going to be overtime because it's only going to be utilized for people that are on, what, FML, like,
It's all part of the memorandum of understanding. So like I said, bargaining.
Contract we just signed.
Well, on my personal basis, does that mean I will have a job or I won't have a job?
I have no idea what happened in your interview, but reach out to HR the next week and to ensure that.
And they'll tell me they'll get back to me, and then they won't call me back.
I don't know about that part, but I'm assuming they should because that's.
Just
their
like a
job.
certain commissioner didn't call me back after I went to his
John, we'll
office.
make sure that Justin, our HR director, gets back in touch with you, for sure.
Well, you never got back to me. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, if there's no other speakers, we'll move on to,
There's 2 procedural matters you have to address too at the meeting on 2 votes before you conclude the meeting. One is on the Oasis contract, the other is on the ARA Park contract. I discussed them with Judge Gibbons as we were walking out of the room because these have to be acted on by the Board of Commissioners at the next meeting. So I would ask that you take a vote on both of those items.
yeah, the 2 contracts that Andy Wallace is talking about, that the warden brought up during his remarks, need to be voted on. And one is the commissary RFP, I believe.
Correct. The first one's a commissary RFP, and we would need a recommendation from the prison board to recommend to the county commissioners that they award this contract.
What company?
That's the Oasis contract.
Okay. So the Oasis contract for the commissary.
We're recommending Oasis, the committee.
The committee's recommending Oasis, and with that said, I'll entertain a motion for that. We have a motion on the floor. Second. All those on the question? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
The second one is for food service, the award to ARA Mark.
Food service contract for Aramark. Do I have a motion for that?
So moved.
Motion on the floor, second? Second. On the question? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, the ayes have it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. And we're going to move on to members' other business. Before I do, I'd like to welcome our newest member to the prison board, and that is our new district attorney, Mark Powell. Mark, thanks for being here. Thanks for being a member of the board. Good luck. Any comments by you?
I'll refrain from any comments, but thank you.
Okay. Any other members' other business?
I'd just like to say, I agree with all the complaints, and I think it's about time that we privatize the prison. Thank you for bringing more complaints to my cause, because it just helps me out tremendously. It is way past high time that we do something, and it has nothing to do with the employees. It's a prison, okay? It's just a prison. I don't know we've done as many upgrades as possible, and there is no more money to provide any more of anything. Right now, it costs the taxpayers $20 million, and they only get it's $27 million cost. We get $20 million from the taxpayer, from Lackawanna County. That's what it cost us. It's outrageous, and it's constantly in the paper, constant problems. This is a board of directors. We negotiate we sit here and talk about negotiation of contracts and, make recommendations. We aren't physically in the prison watching over what's happening. And this lawsuit was brought on, and the DA that was in office previously could not, didn't feel he should represent the county because of a conflict, so he handed it up to the AG's office. There is no lawsuit against the AG. There is no fight with the AG. It's a process that we followed, the way it's supposed to be represented by our attorneys. Please watch the commissioners' meeting for further information on that. And, you know, as far as I'm concerned, all the complaints that we just heard, I agree with you. Time to privatize. Thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner Cummings. Anyone else? If not, just want to let all the speakers know that we appreciate them. We are going to try to get back to your questions with answers, and we are taking the recent occurrences very seriously. And with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion and second. All in favor? Aye. We're adjourned.